Hello, I'm Mason South, and today we're going to be talking about the conflict between Dale and Brennan from the movie Step Brothers. The main conflict in this movie is obviously between Dale and Brennan. They're both middle-aged men that are extremely dependent on their parents, and their parents end up getting married and they're forced into the same household. In this conflict, they compete for space, attention, control, and approval from their parents. They're both extremely emotionally immature, poor communicators, and the conflict escalates to a crazy point where in the drum set scene, Brennan goes and violates Dale's drum set, and they get into a massive physical altercation that brings the entire neighborhood out, and it creates a big scene. These characters are very interesting in a way. Brennan is emotional and sensitive, and he consistently seeks approval from his mom, while also avoiding responsibility and is very childlike emotionally. While Dale is extremely defensive, aggressive. He looks to isolate himself, and he uses anger and aggression to hide his insecurities that he has. Um, and he has this fear of change. You can see when Brennan and his mom move in, he resents them. He doesn't want anything to do with them. He doesn't want them in his home. And overall, both the characters are insecure and they struggle with adulthood, and they have a fear of losing comfort or their status where they are in their life. And this conflict is mostly driven by that immaturity and security that I mentioned. Verbally, the conflict consists of insults, sarcasm, mocking, yelling, and threats. Non-verbally, it consists of aggressive posture, eye rolling, facial expressions. They invade each other's personal space, and then obviously physical fighting. And then emotionally, the conflict is fueled by jealousy, anger, embarrassment, and then that need for acceptance from both of their parents. The first theory that's present in this conflict is the conflict spiral theory. In this theory, it basically states that small disagreements grow into larger conflicts. And this is shown when Brennan and Dale are constantly escalate arguments into physical altercations. Neither try calming down situations, and they respond irrationally, emotionally, when the conflict gets worse. Examples are obviously the drum set argument becomes a massive fight, small insults become screaming matches, and then interview arguments ruin all their opportunities. The main point is that their inability to communicate maturely causes the conflict to spiral in this movie. The second theory that I found was the attachment theory, and this shows that early dependence and emotional attachment affect relationships. Both are overly dependent on their parents and they struggle with independence. This makes them both emotionally immature and they fear losing parental attention. Examples of this is them living with their parents as adults and seeking approval from their parents while they're both nearly 40 years old, and then showing extreme emotional reactions when criticized, even if it's constructive criticism. And the main point is that their unhealthy dependence contributes to this conflict. They do have some strength to this relationship. They have a shared sense of humor. They have similar personalities, believe it or not. They're kind of the same person in some ways. They're both loyal. Um, and then as the film goes on, their emotional understanding begins to develop, and that's where you start to see them become better friends. If I were mediating this conflict, I would encourage them to actively listen to one another using respectful communication. They also need to set clear boundaries in the household, because they kind of lack personal space, if I might say. And then they both need to have better emotional control when presented with conflict. And they need to stop personally attacking each other when that conflict arises. They need to instead focus that energy on solving the conflict rather than attacking one another. So in the end, they end up becoming close friends, and the family improves, and they end up starting a business together, Prestige Worldwide. And this is satisfying because it shows extreme emotional growth. And while they're still immature at times, it shows great maturity and growth from the both of them. And obviously, comedy exaggerates the resolution, as they the movie ends with them singing a beautiful song at the Catalina wine mixer. The ethics of their conflict early in the movie, they're very dishonest. They manipulate one another. Are consistently throwing insults at one another. And specifically, Dale uses aggressive communication towards Brennan. And then later on in the movie, once they start to become friends and grow, start to mature, start to grow emotionally, they show more respect, and they show better teamwork as they begin working with one another to solve the issue. And the main ethical point is that healthy communication requires honesty and respect. My main takeaway in the movie is that emotional immaturity and poor communication create massive conflicts that aren't good for anyone involved, and that friendship and support can help resolve that conflict. Even though Step Brothers is a comedy movie, it demonstrates how insecurity, emotional maturity, and poor communication can damage a relationship, while respect and support can really work to strengthen that relationship. And here's my reference slide of the movie.